Good evening. Let's get started.
To another yin yoga practice. First, I want to take a moment to show you some of the props that I like to have handy when I'm doing my yoga, especially the yin. I always want to have a canvas strap. I like to have a couple different sizes of yoga blocks and a couple different sizes of pillows, and ideally a couple different sizes of bolsters as well. The supports are used to allow a maximum relaxation in a restorative practice, and also the blocks can be utilized to essentially bring the floor a little closer to you. We're going to start in Savasana, setting our intentions for today's practice. Focus on what you want to bring into your life and what you are needing to let go of, in order to create the space to allow for that change and shift. Relax into Savasana while setting your intentions. What is it you want to let go of? What is it that you want to cultivate more of into existence? How can you do that today? How can you do that over time? What does that look like? Just visualize the goal of what it is you want to bring into your life. While you continue to remain in Savasana, intentionally allow yourself to let go of all of your stress, all of your worries, all of your concerns. Let go of the stress from the day, from the week, from the month, from the entire year. Give yourself permission to be completely stress-free. And then slowly rotate your head and neck to the right. Take a deep breath. Head and neck back to neutral. And then to the left side for another deep breath. And then back to neutral. Stretching out long, you can reach your hands overhead, pointing your toes, rotating your ankles. Then you're going to hug in your right knee. You can engage your foot, flex your heel, point the toes, rotate the ankle. Continue hugging that right knee, paying close attention to the micro movements and the shifts in this held compression of your right hip socket. Focus on all the little movements. Then you can reach for the strap, get the canvas to grow across the ball of your right foot, and then straighten out your knee, keeping your leg slightly bent if you wish. Maybe pull that leg slightly closer to your chest. Hold that there. Then you're going to swing that right leg out to the right side, continuing to hold your foot with the strap for the half straddle. Hold here for a couple of deep breaths. So big stretch. And then release and set your strap aside. Lower your right leg back down to the mat. Hands overhead, stretching out long again, pointing the toes, rotating your ankles before then hugging your left knee in tight. Again, you can engage the foot and the ankle, flexing and pointing your toes, rotating your ankle. Continue hugging in your left knee tightly. Again, paying attention to the micro movements, focusing on that compression in your left hip socket. Relax into it. Then you can reach for the strap, placing the canvas across the ball of your left foot this time and straightening out that leg, holding it there. You can have a slight bend in your knee if you wish. You might want to pull that leg just a little closer to your chest. And then we're going to swing the left leg out to the left with the foot still on the strap, holding onto that strap for the half straddle. Again, this is a really big stretch. We're going to hold for several breaths. And then place the strap aside while lowering your leg back down to the mat. Both legs are out straight, stretching out long, arms up overhead, and then hug both knees tightly. Continue holding your right knee while lowering the left leg back down to the mat. We're going to hold there for several breaths. Then we're going to place the right knee onto the floor or a bolster across our bodies on the other side for the supine twist. Arms are in a T. Your right knee is on the left side of your body. Stay in the supine twist, keeping your drishti over your right fingertips. You have an option to use your left hand to apply a light pressure to your right knee if you wish. Enjoy this twist while focusing on the release in the small of your back. And slowly turn your head and neck to look the opposite direction over your left shoulder for 2 full breaths. And then slowly turn the head and neck back to be looking your gaze out over your right fingertips. And then head and neck back to neutral. Lower the right leg back down to the mat. Hug in both knees together, head and neck towards your knees, rocking and rolling. And then lower your right leg back down to the mat while continuing to hug your left knee. Hold that knee tight. Relax into it. Then we're going to move that left knee across our bodies to place on the floor on our right side or on a bolster or another prop for the supine twist to the right. Arms are in a T again, keeping the drishti out over the left fingertips. Enjoy this release in the small of your back. With your right hand, you can apply that light pressure to the left knee at any point if you wish. Then you can slowly turn your head to the right, looking out over the opposite direction. Hold your drishti there for a couple of breaths. Then carefully turning your head and neck towards your left. Gazing out over your left fingertips again. And then head and neck return to neutral. Lower your left leg back down to the mat when coming out of this twist and stretch both arms out long overhead. And again, we're going to hug both knees tightly, stretching the neck and the head towards the knees, rotating both ankles, engaging the feet, flexing the heels, pointing the toes. And then we're going to get into the reclined butterfly. You might want to utilize props under your knees or thighs. Arms are down by your sides, hands are facing up. Surrender to your practice. Then you're going to glide your arms out wide to the sides across the floor, arching them overhead into a half moon to steeple grip. Hold it there. And then glide your arms back down to your sides like butterfly wings. Hands or palms are facing up. And then slowly stretching the arms out to the sides again, bringing them back up overhead, touching the fingertips to each other in a steeple grip or prayer hands. Remain in the reclined butterfly. And if you have any props, you might want to remove them here before we get into reclined tree pose. First, straighten out your left leg while placing the sole of your right foot against the inseam of your left thigh as high as you can. Hands still overhead in steeple grip, prayer hands, or yogi's choice. Hold here for several breaths. Then we're going to simply switch sides by first straightening out the right leg and then placing the sole of your left foot high to the inseam of your right thigh. Your arms are still overhead in prayer hands, steeple grip, branching your arms out, goalpost arms, however you're most comfortable. It's yogi's choice. And then Coming out of this, you can reach for your strap and get the canvas to go across the balls of both of your feet for legs up the wall. Your knees can be straightened or bent slightly. You can pedal your knees out, you can rock, you can wiggle, anything you wish. Continue to keep your left foot in the strap while you remove your right foot and place the right ankle across your left thigh for reclined pigeon. You can hold that there. You can bend your left knee slightly as an option, or keep it straightened, or some of each, straightening and bending. And then we're going to switch out the feet, getting your right foot back into the strap, removing your left foot, placing the left foot across your right thigh for the reclining pigeon on the other side. Enjoy the stretch. Again, you have an option to bend the knee slightly, straighten it, or a little bit of both. And then you can set the strap aside. We're going to lay flat for 3 honey bumblebee breaths. Your fingers are across your closed eyes, your pointer finger, middle finger, and ring finger. Thumbs are on your ear cartilage. Press your thumbs down on that tragus, closing off the airway to your ears. Breathing in through your nose and out through the nose. We're going to hum low pitch 3 times on the exhale. And then after that, get ready to turn yourself over, slowly turning to the left or the right. Carefully turn yourself all the way over to lay prone on your front side. You can rest your head on your hands, laying on top of each other for several breaths, preparing for another twist. Come up onto your elbows and forearms into Sphinx. And then hike your right knee out to your right side. With your right arm out straight in front of you. With your left arm, you can thread the needle, making any adjustments for the pose that you need as you get into the spine twist once again. You might want to use a bolster or a prop to support that knee. You can straighten out both of your arms. Try to lay your shoulders flat on the ground, arms in a T. At any point, you can use your left hand to apply a slight pressure to the right knee, keeping your gaze out over the right shoulder and fingertips. Feel the difference from the last supine twist, having gotten into this pose from an entirely different series of prompts and directives. Also, take note of any similarities along with those differences. When you're ready to come out of the twist, you can rest your head on your hands again, laying them on top of one another once again for several breaths. And then you can bend both knees, lifting your feet into the air, and windshield wiper the feet and calves back and forth. And then you can slow that down before you lower your feet back down to the mat. And then coming back up onto your forearms and elbows and hands again into the Sphinx pose. This time hiking up your left knee out to the left side. And with your left arm out straight in front of you, thread your right arm through the needle, shifting into the supine twist again. Same as the other side. You can adjust yourself so that both shoulders and arms are flat on the ground in a T. And again, you have the option to apply a light pressure with the right hand on your left knee, keeping your drishti out over your left shoulder and fingertips. Relaxing into this twist while again noticing similarities and differences from the first supine twist and even just from the other side. When you are done, you can unwind, resting your head on your hands stacked atop of one another once again. And this time in a really exaggerated motion, windshield wiper those feet and knees, loosening out the hips really well. Slow that down, lower your feet back down to the ground, and then send your hips back towards your feet to get into a wide knee child's pose. You can use a block or bolster or pillow to rest your head or torso on. We're going to hold that position, really relaxing your torso, ragdolling the upper portion of your body. Allow gravity to do this work for you. Just lean into it. When you're done, you can remove the prop if you have one. Coming up into a tabletop, before then lowering yourself back into the Sphinx on your elbows and forearms again. This time spreading out your hands and your fingers as wide as you can. Holding that Sphinx pose tall, before then turning your right forearm to be parallel with the top of your mat. You can reach back for your left foot with your left hand. Hold this half bow pose for several breaths. And then you can take a minute here to attempt the full bow, getting each of your feet into each of your hands. This is very challenging. You might need to use the strap or get assistance if you have someone nearby that can spot you. Whatever it is that you need, if you're able to get yourself into the full bow shape, and if not, just do whatever you're comfortable with modifying. And know that your level of flexibility varies from day to day. If you're in the full bow, you can use your breath and diaphragm to rock yourself lightly, or you can remain still, or some of each. And then as you let go of your feet, rest your head on your hands again, hands stacked on top of each other, and windshield wipering the feet again, really loosening out those hips again too. And then slow that down. Lower the feet back down to the mat. And then the same thing to the other side, coming back into Sphinx, stretching your hands and your fingers out as wide as you can, sitting up tall, then turning the left forearm to be parallel to the top of your mat and reaching back with your right hand to hold your right foot, engaging in this half bow for several breaths. And then just like on the other side, you can attempt the full bow if it's in your practice, utilizing your strap or someone spotting you, whatever you might need to support this challenge of full bow. And again, modifying however you need. If you're in that full bow pose, you can use your diaphragm to rock back and forth, or you can try to remain still, or a bit of both. And then as you let go of your feet, lower them back down to the mat, and again send your hips back to be sitting on your feet in a child's pose. This time in a regular child's pose with your knees touching. While sitting on your feet, you can rest your head or torso on a block. We'll be here for a prolonged period. Really lean into it, ragdolling that torso. And then we're going to walk our fingers or slide our hands to the right edge of the mat, reaching for that upper right corner, feeling the stretch across your lower ribs on the left. And then sliding your hands or walking your fingers back to neutral, and then sliding or walking the hands and fingers to the left edge of the mat, reaching towards that upper left corner, focusing on the extension in the lower right ribs and holding there for a couple of breaths before then gliding or walking hands, fingers back to neutral. Again, really lean into this child's pose. Just allow gravity to work its magic. And then when you're ready, you can slowly push up your torso, pressing your hands on the mat, coming up into hero's pose, pausing here. You might want to block under your bum. You can place your hands on your thighs, remaining still. Take notice of the challenges of this seemingly easy pose. Then you can get your hands into prayer hands over heart, slowly rising your prayer hands up overhead, and then lowering them back down. placing your hands back onto your thighs before then coming up onto your knees into a widened stance. Reaching your arms behind yourself. You can get your hands and fingers into a bind. Explore the limits of your flexibility with this. You might want to push your arms slightly up behind yourself, maybe leaning back slightly. You might want to bend forward with your forehead on the floor and then lowering your arms and hands towards the floor over your head, still with your hands in a bind. If you're doing that, then come back up carefully. You can unclasp your hands, and then we're going to get into camel pose, leaning back slightly, arching your torso. I like to use a bolster on the back of my calves or ankles and reach for it with my hands to then explore this heart opener. As you come out of this, you can sit back onto your feet into the hero's pose once again, focusing on your breath for a moment. When you're ready, swing your legs around out in front of yourself for staff pose. You can gather up some pillows and props to stack on top of your legs. I usually use a bolster and a couple of smaller pillows, sometimes a block. You can pile up the props so that you can ragdoll your upper body over your legs, resting your torso on the pillows. Alternatively, you can use the strap on the balls of your feet for the same type of effect here. We're going to relax into this for an extended period. Really lean into it. Vision tilting your hips towards your feet, towards your toes. Again, allowing gravity to work its magic. Focus on easing your weight forward, trusting the gravitational pull to completely support you and keep you safe. Your weight, your position will continue to shift slightly. We're going to continue ragdolling over those props, ragdolling the torso over the props. And then when we're done, we'll remove the props and set them aside. Get your left leg stretched out long. Bring the right foot up high to the inseam of the left thigh. Reaching for your left toes in a side bend. Breathing into the stretch. Focusing on relaxing into it. Trusting the gravity to do its work. Then we're going to come up to neutral and get into a wide straddle stretch. Leaning forward for a couple of deep breaths, maybe using the blocks. And then slowly transitioning, switching it out to the other side. Place your left foot to the inner right thigh, reaching for the right toes in a side bend. Right leg is out straight, left hand is over the right hand and foot. Focus on your breathing, and again, trust gravity to work its magic, supporting you and keeping you safe. And then come back up to neutral, stretching out both legs wide again for the straddle, leaning forward, reaching out in front of yourself, maybe resting your forearms and forehead onto blocks, maybe stacked up. Focus on really leaning into this. If you have your head on a block, allow the weight of your head to be fully supported by the prop. Relax with intentional breathing. Then we're going to come into a seated butterfly, holding the soles of your feet together with both hands, allowing your knees to fall towards the floor. Sitting up tall, and then mindfully bend your neck and head towards your feet. And then gently rising your head slowly back up to neutral, imagining a string above your head, pulling it straight up into a perfect posture. And then twist your head from side to side, first to the right, and then neutral, and then left, and then back to neutral. Now we're going to stretch the neck down, rolling it out in small movements at first. You can turn your head back and forth like you're indicating a no. You can stretch your neck diagonally, bending it from side to side. You have an option to nod your head up and down as if acknowledging a yes. And if it's in your practice, you can do a full circle rotation in one direction, and then a full circle rotation to the other direction. And then bring your head up to neutral, shifting into easy pose. Touching down to the ground with your left fingertips, drop your right ear to your right shoulder. You have an option here to use a light pressure with your right fingertips on the top of your skull. And if you want, you can also move the head and neck slightly back and forth to massage out those neck muscles. And then head and neck back to neutral. Reaching your right fingertips towards the ground while dropping your left ear to your left shoulder. And again, with that slight pressure with the left fingertips, if you wish. Moving the head and the neck back and forth for an additional massage if you'd like. And then back to neutral. And again, turn your head slowly from side to side. First gently to the right and hold. Back to neutral. And then slowly to the left. Pausing. And then back to neutral. Now we're going to bring ourselves back into that wide straddle again, leaning forward. You might want to use the blocks in front of you to rest your forehead on again. We're going to remain in this stretch for an extended period, focusing on your breathing, filling up your lungs like they're balloons, in through the nose, and then deflating them, emptying the lungs out through the mouth, and then refilling them again with the fresh air, appreciating the oxygen traveling in your bloodstream to reach all of your muscles as you relax into this stretch. Then you can pick up a block into each of your hands, reaching over your left foot. You can place each of those blocks on either side of the foot to rest your hands on, or reach for your toes. Allow gravity to assist you in your efforts, making this side stretch feel as effortless as possible. And then picking up the blocks, you can place them out in front of yourself, leaning forward, for picking them back up to place on the other side of your right foot. You can reach for your toes, or you can rest your hands on the blocks. Breathing deep and allowing gravity to work its magic. Letting go of all of your stress. And then you can come back to neutral, set the blocks aside, and our next pose will be bending the right knee over the left leg, extended out straight, twisting to the right, gazing to the back of the room. Your right hand or fist is on the floor behind you, arm is supporting the torso, using your left elbow to leverage on the right knee, resting your drishti as far back as you can. And then slowly turning your gaze to the front of the room, rotating your head and neck. And slowly returning your drishti to the back of the room again, all while continuing to leverage the left elbow on the right knee. Then back to neutral. Coming out of this twist, we're simply going to switch sides, bending the left knee over the right leg extended out straight, left hand or fist is on the floor behind you, gazing out over your left shoulder towards the back of the room, leveraging your right arm against the left knee, right elbow against the left knee. And then you're going to slowly turn your head and neck to gaze out over the right shoulder to the front of the room. Before then, slowly returning your drishti to the back of the room, looking out over your left shoulder again. Continuing to leverage that right elbow on the left knee. And then back to neutral. Next, we're going to hold the soles of the feet together again, getting into that butterfly pose, pressing the knees towards the floor, sitting up tall, and then slowly and carefully bending your head and neck towards your feet. Before then, again, imagining that string being pulled up from above the top of your head, coming back up to neutral in that perfect posture, and then gently turning your head to the right, slowly back to neutral, and then carefully to the left, and then again back to neutral. And now we're going to get our legs into cow face and then Lord of the Fish. First, bending the right knee over the left knee that's also bent, stacking them on top of one another for cow face. Holding each of your feet in each of your hands. Sitting up tall. You can use your thumbs to press into the arches of your feet, giving yourself a nice, gentle foot massage if you wish. And then turn all the way to the right. Right arm is behind you. Left elbow leverages against the right knee, looking towards the back of the room. Appreciate the power of this twist. Then slowly turn your head to the opposite side, looking out over the left shoulder. Carefully, slowly rotating your head and neck back to be looking out over your right shoulder again. And then back to neutral. And straightening out both legs in front of yourself for staff pose. You can reach your arms out wide to the sides, arching them into a half moon up towards the sky, interlacing the fingers, binding your hands, turning them outward and reaching as tall as you can. Before then bending forward, reaching for your toes. Noticing any tightness in your back and allowing that to loosen before coming back up to neutral and then preparing to switch legs for cow face on the other side. Your left knee goes over your right bent knee, stacking them on top of one another, holding your feet with each of your hands, sitting up tall. And again, you can use your thumbs to massage into the arches of each foot. And then twisting to the left, your right arm, right elbow is leveraging against that left knee. Looking over the left shoulder to the back of the room. Left arm is behind you. And slowly turning your gaze to the other side of the room, looking out over your right shoulder. Slowly returning the head and neck to be gazing out over the left shoulder, again towards the back of the room. And then head and neck back to neutral. Coming out of this twist, you can return to the staff pose, reaching those arms out wide, legs out front, making a half moon arch, touching your hands overhead for steeple grip, reaching up tall, and then leaning forward to hold your toes. Again, noticing if you have any tension in your back and releasing that tension. And then as you come back up to neutral, transition into easy pose. Reaching your arms out wide to the sides and then reaching up for the half moon arch, touching your hands together for prayer hands briefly before getting into cactus arms, preparing for eagle arms. Right elbow over the left elbow, hands together, pushing elbows slightly up, bending head and neck slightly down. You can remain in this nice gentle stretch of your shoulder blades and neck, or you have an option to slowly look up if you like, leaning your head slightly back while pushing the eagle arms towards the sky. If you're doing that, your arms will naturally unpretzel. If you haven't done that, you can just reach your arms back out wide. Either way, touch your hands down to the ground before then lifting the arms up again into another half moon. Touching the hands together overhead again for the prayer hands briefly, back to cactus. And again, eagle arms, this time with the left elbow over the right elbow, pushing the elbows up slightly, bending the head and neck down slightly. And again, you have an option to hold in this nice simple stretch of your shoulder blades and neck, or you can slowly look up as high as possible, leaning your head slightly back, pushing your elbows and arms up as they unpretzel, or just stretch your arms back out wide to the sides. Either way, then touching the earth before then reaching back out wide and up, bringing them overhead into another half moon arch to steeple grip, sitting tall. And then a simple twist to each side. As you lower your arms down, your right hand goes behind you, left hand on the right knee. Lift your right arm up high to cross over the left, reaching for the left knee with the right hand. And then your left hand could go onto the floor behind you before raising that left arm up high, reaching over the right arm to hold your right knee again before then coming back to neutral. And then you can hug your knees lightly in this basket shape. Here, there's an opportunity to get into a boat pose. I like to first hold my hands under my legs to do a really strong boat pose, before then doing a more traditional boat pose with my arms parallel to the ground. You might want to scissor your legs for a moment to get an additional benefit for your core strength, maybe with your toes pointed, lowering your legs down towards the floor without touching the floor, lifting them back up again, maybe with your feet arched, toes extended. You can do that a couple of times if you wish, before then laying down on your back, stretching out long, arms overhead, and then plant both feet on the floor, knees bent. You might want to hold a block or a pillow in between the knees, and possibly another on each side of yourself. Allow your knees to fall to the right. Keeping your drishti out over your left shoulder, arms in a T. So nice simple stretch. Slowly rotate your head to look out the other direction, to your right, and then back again, looking out over your left shoulder. Forehead and neck go back to neutral, and then knees to neutral, allowing the knees to simply fall to the left, arms still in a T, gazing out over your right fingertips. And slowly turn your head and neck to look out over your left shoulder, setting your gaze over the left fingertips. Slowly turning your head and neck back to be looking out over your right fingertips again. And then back to neutral, knees to neutral. Removing any props, hug in both knees, bending your head and neck towards the knees. You can engage your feet, flex your heels, point your toes, rotating your ankles. And then plant both feet firmly on the mat again. Arms are in a T again. Kick your right leg up high, straightening the knee and crossing your right knee over your left knee. Then allow your legs to fall to your right, gazing out over your left fingertips. This is my all-time favorite of all of these twists. Just really relax into this. Then you can uncross your knees, bringing them up to neutral, hugging your knees to your chest, rocking and rolling. Firmly plant both feet back onto the mat again for the other side. Kick your left leg straight up high to cross it over the right knee, and allow your legs to fall to the left. Your arms are still in a T with your gaze out over those right fingertips. Enjoy this final twist. that release. And then you can release your knees back up to neutral, hugging in both knees one more time, rocking and rolling. And then if you would like to, you have an opportunity here for the happy baby, holding each of your feet in each of your hands. You can rock that baby, maybe alternating, straightening and slightly bending each knee. And as you come out of that form, simply lay flat and then reach for a block for supported bridge. You can plant both feet firmly on the mat, lifting your hips. Slide the block under the small of your back on its lowest level and lower down, relaxing into your supported bridge. And then while still on the block, you can reach for your strap, or you can do legs up the wall without the strap. You can do it with an actual wall. If you have the strap, get that canvas to go across the balls of both feet, and you can pedal out your legs. You can slightly bend and straighten each knee, walking it out. And then when you're done with that, you can set the strap to the side, remove the block. If it's in your practice, there's an option here for a shoulder stand in the plow. Take a minute or two to do these if you wish, or yogi's choice, any stretch you would like. Feel free to get into Savasana early and we can meet you there, or whatever it is that you would like to do to complete your yoga routine. Should you be in that shoulder stand, you might want to point your toes. You might want to rotate your ankles, flex your heels. Any movements that you're inclined to do before transitioning into the plow. And then when you're coming out of the plow, slow and controlled with your chin tucked, try to roll one vertebrae at a time, allowing yourself back down onto the mat to relax into the Savasana. Remember the intentions you set at the beginning of this practice. Thank yourself for taking the time out of your day to focus on your health and wellness. You might find yourself drifting off. to remain in Savasana for another minute or so. As you bring your awareness back into the room and back into your body, you can either roll to one side or the other and rest there for a few moments. Or if it's comfortable for you, you have an option to slightly with your chin tucked, come straight up with both elbows behind yourself, straightening out your arms, transitioning into easy pose. If you're laying on your side, you can push yourself up at this point. Either way, we will meet in that easy pose. And then place your left hand onto your right knee, right hand onto the floor behind you, lightly twisting to the right, and then lifting that right arm up high, crossing over your left arm, right hand onto the left knee, arms are crossed in an X, and then reach your left hand behind you for a light twist, and then lifting that left arm up over the right arm and making that X again, before then lightly hugging yourself in this basket shape. And then you can hug yourself in as tightly as you can, making yourself as small as you can into a little seedling or ball, constricting your being to take up as little space as possible, before then releasing and stretching your arms out wide to the sides into a star shape. Then place each hand onto each of your knees, touching the pointer fingers to your thumbs. We're going to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. We're going to chant Om 3 times in a low pitch on the exhale. And then stretching the arms out wide again for another half moon arch. Bring the arms up overhead to prayer hands. And then to acknowledge your insight and wisdom, touch your thumbs or knuckles to your third eye on the way to hands over heart. Reaching the arms out wide once more for one last half moon arch, prayer hands overhead, and then slowly lowering the prayer hands over your heart to then bow to close and seal this practice. And so it is. I thank you for practicing with me today. Be well. Enjoy a very blessed rest of your day. Be sure to drink your water and eat your veggies, and we will see you on the next one. Love and light.
Thanks for practicing with me. See you soon.